Away in no manger, no pit for the little Lord Jesus laid on his sweet hair. The stars in the bright sky looked on where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the head.
Look, it's a bit sweet, isn't it? That tiny little voice floating across the congregation in a way that demands we be still. Rows of parents politely straining to see their little angel or sheep, sitting quite nervously, straight backs, hands on knees, having been suitably warned to smile. It's the perfect Christmas picture. Devoted and smiling parents basking in that newborn glow, adoring animals and the most precious baby, peacefully asleep through the chatter of his many reverent visitors. It's Christmas. Polished, shiny, perfect. All problems neatly tucked away like discarded wrapping paper, save for another year. But perhaps Mary's reality looked quite different. A vulnerable young mother, disgraced, and despite her husband's kindness, very much alone, scared. Maybe she ignored her pains, keeping quiet until she could no longer contain panicked cries for her own mother as those all-encompassing feelings swept through her swollen womb. Perhaps she felt her vision blur as cold, wet blood pooled on the stable floor. Perhaps Joseph's brow bubbled with sweat as he frantically attempted to protect his wife from the bleeding distress calls of overwhelmed animals. Maybe he hastily sanded the rough wood of the feeding trough in a bid to save his newborn's skin until finally the world came to a halt as a glimmer of glorious starlight broke through the inky darkness. He's here. Not just a son, but the Saviour, Messiah, the long-awaited King of Kings, the voice that spoke the earth into motion, could now be heard crying from a feeding trough. Into the grit and dirt he came, ushered only by a huddle of animals, and not the prestigious kind either, the lowly. With no sense of ceremony, he chose to come. The Prince of Heaven cloaked in our flesh, helpless, naked, dependent fully on a young woman whose sacrificial labour would change the course of history. Our story started in the mess of a makeshift cradle, but that was far from the ending. In fact, the world's greatest rescue mission had only just begun. Emmanuel, God with us. The inescapable phrase uttered by every school teacher, choir director and minister at Christmas. It's not just familiar Christianese designed to make us feel good. It's a phrase that is filled with the truth of heaven's power. You see, when he stepped into our mess, radiant glory met with that humble stable place. But it's not just a moment in the story. It's the story itself. The baby in Bethlehem loved greater than any other, and so again met with a wooden resting place, except this time his open wounds became dusted with splinters as his blood pooled round sharp, cold nails in his hands and his feet. Sweat poured from his brow until eventually he was too dry even to weep. Alone he hung, thieves at his side, yet indescribably isolated, forsaken by his own father, until eventually the world came to a halt. Silence, except for the echo ringing in their ears. It is finished. In humility, the Son of God took on the weight and humiliation of our humanity, descending into the depths of darkness, the lowest of lows, so that he could guide us out. He stands with us in the messy, gritty, and just plain cruel moments that life so often brings. But he doesn't leave us there, for he rose again, gripping the keys of death and hell. The veil has been torn. Emmanuel, risen and ever present. He was and is radically close to us, offering forgiveness and restoration vastly beyond our imaginations. But perhaps you can't fathom that transformation. Maybe it hurts just to hope. Maybe you've been trying so hard to summon up all of that Christmas, but life just gets in the way. You see the baby in the cradle? He's still working on your behalf. The gift of hope, transformation, and a better future is still easily accessible. He's simply calling you to come. Bring your whole self, no polishing or scrubbing up. Place your heart in the hands that hold the universe and allow each of those aches to turn to adoration. You see, it started with a cradle, but it ended with the cross. So, come.
Come just as you are, come just as you are. Christ the King is born. Come just as you are, come just as you are. Christ the